Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon to our respected lecturer Dr. Madiha Binti Khalid and also our beloved friends. As for today, we will be presenting on the popular instructional strategy nowadays, which is flipped classroom. Before that, let me introduce my group members first, which is Muhammad Shah, Danial bin Daud, Tuan Nurul, Iffah, Binti, Tuan Ismail, and me, myself, Fadhlin, Adila, Binti, Zulkefly. We hope all of you will stay focused until the end of the presentation, because we have a lot of activities such as discussion, debate, and also Kahoot session. Okay, so we go to the first part, which is the definition of the flipped classroom. What is flipped classroom? For your information, the flipped classroom is a type of blended learning, also known as hybrid learning, which combines online educational materials and opportunities for interaction online with the traditional place-based classroom methods. Moreover, students are introduced to content at home and practice working through it at school. This is the reverse of the more common practice, also known as the traditional method, which is introducing new content at school, then assigning homework and projects to be completed by the student independently at home. Besides, it is also needed face-to-face interaction mixed with independent study, usually via technology. If I give all of you one example, maybe all of you can imagine that. For example, the teacher gives the student pre-recorded videos the day before the class, so that the student might watch them at home, then come to school to do the homework armed with the question and the list some background knowledge of the topic itself. Do you get it? Okay, next, what do students do at home in a flipped classroom? In the classroom, the students might have to watch an online lecture, review the online course material, read physical or digital text, participate in an online discussion, and also maybe they also can perform some research. Meanwhile, when they are at school, they can do flipped classroom activities such as face-to-face discussion with peers, debate, presentations, station learning, and also peer assessment and review. So we move to the next part, which is the 4 pillars. As you can see on the slides, flip have meaning itself. F for flexible environment, L for learning culture, I for intentional content, and lastly P for professional educator. Okay, so I will explain each of them in a detail. Firstly, for the flexible environment, flipped learning allows for a variety of learning modes, which is the educators often physically rearrange their learning spaces to accommodate a lesson or unit to support either group work or independent study. They create flexible spaces in which students choose when and where they learn. Furthermore, educators who flip their classes are flexible in their expectations or student timelines for learning and in their assessment of student learning. Secondly, for learning culture, the flipped learning model deliberately shifts instruction to a learner-centered approach, wherein class time is dedicated to exploring topics in a greater depth and creating rich learning opportunities. As a result, students are actively involved in knowledge construction as they participate in and evaluate their learning in a manner that is personally meaningful. Thirdly, for intentional content, flipped learning educators continually think about how they can use the flipped learning model to help students develop conceptual understanding as well as procedural fluency. They determine what they need to teach and what materials students should explore on their own. Educators use intentional content to maximize classroom time in order to adopt methods of student-centered active learning strategies depending on grade level and subject matter. Lastly, for professional educators, they are reflective in their practice, connect with each other to improve their instruction, accept constructive criticism, and tolerate control chaos in their classroom. During class time, they continually observe their students, providing them with feedback relevant to the moment and assessing their work.
Hi friends, I am Shah. Now I will present about the process of flipped classroom. In this class, we have pre-class activity session. The day before the class, the teacher will give a material that is related to the topic that will be learned in the next class. It could be a video, a reading material, or etc. At home, our students have to study and analyze the material, and if the teacher has given any projects or activities or things that they have to prepare, they have to prepare it before the class. But the most important thing is they have to study first at home. Next, we have in-class activities. In the class, if the teacher give activities earlier, they have to proceed with the activity in the class. Also, a discussion among the student and teacher could be held in the class, but the activities are based on the material given before. So this session involves critical thinking and independent learning. So teacher don't have to explain from A to Z. Otherwise, the teacher can only be a facilitator in the class and answer student question. After that, we have post-class session. If the topic has to be elaborated more or it is difficult, student may go back and discuss it with the teacher. Teacher also can make a tutorial session or extra class for the student, but the discussion allowed if it's really needed. In addition, I will explain characteristics that apply in the flipped classroom. First, teacher. Teacher provides material and it is a facilitator during the class. The teacher has to work more in providing material and have to be ready in that topic for any hot questions. Second, students. They have to be independently study and explore the topic more. They can use any platform to widen their knowledge and seek information, like they may take notes from the internet. Third, material. The material that was given is not in a typical way. It provides an opportunity for students to gain first exposure prior to class. Its material typically explored in lectures is delivered outside of class through video lectures or etc. This material was provided by the teacher, and based on that, students have to learn it and discuss it further in the class. Thus, it has nurtured independent characteristics for students. Lastly, the nature of class. It provides in-class activity that focus on higher level cognitive activities. If the student gain basic knowledge outside of class, then they need to spend class time to promote deeper learning. The class may have debates, data analysis, or synthesis activities that students may engage in during class. Thus, students are using class time to deepen their understanding and increase their skill at using their new knowledge.
Okay, thank you for the presenter just now. Next, I am Tuan Nurul Iffah, Binti Tuan Ismail, and I will be presenting on the advantages and also disadvantages of flipped classroom. Okay, so the first advantages of flipped classroom is students have more control. Okay, so in flipped classroom, it is possible for students to have increased input and control over their own learning. Okay, so by providing short lectures at home, students are given the freedom to learn at their own pace. They can pause or rewind the lectures, write down questions that they may have, and discuss them with their teachers or peers in class. This also allows students who need more time to understand certain concepts to take time reviewing the material without getting left behind. Okay, so the second one is lessons are more accessible. Okay, by making video lectures available at all time online, students who are forced to miss class due to illness, sports, vacation, or emergencies can catch up quickly by the recording video. This also gives teachers more flexibility when they themselves are sick and also eliminates makeup assignments. Okay, next, the third one is access is easier for parents. Unlike traditional classroom models, flipped classroom give parents 24 hours access to their children's video lectures. This allows parents to be better prepared when attempting to help their children and give them insight into the quality of instruction their children are receiving. So parents can also play their role by helping their children on the children's study. Okay, next, the flipped classroom also promotes student-centered learning, as this type of learning encourages students to teach and learn concepts from each other with the guidance of their teachers. So by allowing students to partake in their own learning, they are able to own the knowledge they achieve, which in turn builds confidence. Furthermore, teachers are also given the ability to identify errors in thinking or concept application and are more available for one-to-one interaction. Okay, so I have explained about some advantages of flipped classroom. Next, meanwhile, there are also several disadvantages of flipped classroom. One of the most prominent issue is the necessity for students to have access to a computer and internet in order to view the lectures. Okay, this is particularly hard on students from low-income districts who already have limited access to resources. There is also the concern that since flipped classrooms are dependent on students' participation, one must trust students to watch the lecture at home. So as a lecturer, we put our trust for our student, but then it also depends on the students' responsibility to view the lecture and to learn about the study part. Next, unfortunately, there is no way to guarantee students will cooperate with the flipped model. Some students with special needs also may need extra support at home, support that might not be always available because they are students with special needs and they need help in setting up the computer, the internet, and so on. Besides, there are some who believe that if every teacher starts flipping their classroom, students will spend hours in front of a computer watching the lectures. One may argue that this has the potential to cause a serious problem to students' learning processes, as not everyone may be as adept to learning through a computer. So there are several of disadvantages of flipped classroom. Next, I will pass to the next presenter to explain about the differences between flipped classroom and traditional classroom.
Okay, now let's see the differences between the traditional method versus flipped classroom. In traditional, all the materials or notes are distributed in the class by the teacher or instructor. Meanwhile, in the flipped classroom, all the material or notes are given outside of the classroom, such as giving recorded video or reviewing online course material. For the feedback, sometimes it is slow and not tailored because the teacher does all the things by themselves in the class, while for the flip, it is immediate and effective because the teacher is well prepared for all the things before the class begin. Next, in the traditional method, the teacher talk time is medium until high because it is focused on the teacher-centered learning. While in the flip, the teacher talk time is low because it is focused on student-centered learning. Besides, the teacher roles in the traditional method as a teacher or lecturer, meanwhile in the flip as the facilitator or tutor. In the traditional method, the content mastery is low, while for flip, it is faster and more accessible. Furthermore, it is relatively low for students involved in traditional and may hide in a flip due to the material is already given by the outside the classroom. Last but not least, the comprehension may hit or miss due to the varying abilities, while for flip, it may increase their understanding of the topic because the students might watch the videos multiple times.
So as for today, we have been discussing about flipped classroom, and to conclude, despite everything, the flipped classroom can still be a very effective and hands-on approach to improve student achievement and involve them in their own education. It is an exciting and also engaging model of instruction. This method of instruction puts the learning in the hands of the learner and ask the educator to facilitate the learning process. So that is all for our presentation today about flipped classroom. So we will meet in the class for the next activity. So I hope to see everyone tomorrow. Thank you.